the University of Florida in Gainesville today, there is widespread concern that a serial killer is on the loose.
Now officials say all 3 victims were found mutilated.
3 bodies in 2 days. This is not something that happens here.
The killing sent a shockwave here through the University of Florida campus.
You know, it really makes me fear for my life.
I just think it's really frightening that something like this can happen in your own backyard.
Well, it was really shocking. We were sitting on the floor in the dorm and immediately got up and locked the door.
It concerns my mother even more.
Many continue to go to classes even though they say the administration should postpone school for a few days.
I think they should until at least next week. See what happens. I mean, they should catch this guy.
We needed to start mobilizing a much larger task force in investigating these crimes. And they brought in agents from all over the state.
Gainesville Police, University Police, the Alachua County Sheriff's Office, and the state's Attorney's Office will combine all resources.
And then there's a twist in the case that no one saw coming.
We were still processing Krista Hoyt's crime scene, and we got an alert over the radio that a bank robbery was in progress.
First Union Bank on Southwest Archer Road, a few miles from the murder scenes.
Our perpetrator had put a ski mask on, went inside the place, and he commits this bank robbery.
And the tellers piled in the cash. One of them was smart enough to put in a red dye pack. The person said, "Have a nice day, you all," and then took off.
Monday evening, one of our deputies spotted a white male entering into a wooded area and tracked the white male that had run off to a campsite. And at the campsite, the white male was no longer at the campsite.
At that empty campsite, they find the bank money from the robbery soaked in the red dye from the exploding dye pack.
Found a gun, but a gun wasn't used to kill our victims with. So the robbery itself was treated like any other robbery.
They also find a screwdriver and a tape recorder with a cassette inside, but at the time, nobody bothered to listen to it.
That sat in an evidence room with the cops never understanding or realizing that this piece of evidence was really going to turn the key in the case.
So they packed up all that evidence, left it in storage, and moved on.
And by the time people are even digesting, hey, what's going on, the third crime scene occurs.
Tracy, Paule, and Manny Taboada were friends. Everybody thought they were boyfriend and girlfriend, but they weren't. They were just buddies, and they'd known each other a long, long time.
Well, everybody.
In some ways, it's now 30 years since then, but it feels like it was just yesterday. My name is Mario Taboada. I am Manny Taboada's brother. He was going to be an architectural major. He was excited about that. All his plans were really starting to go into motion.
My name is Laurie LAHEY. Tracy Paule was my younger sister. As we grew up, we created dances. My father loved it, so if we had family gatherings, he'd say, "Hey, do that dance, do that dance." On my wedding, my sister, of course, was my maid of honor.
Hi, Laurie, I love you very much. I think the wedding was beautiful.
Here it comes.
And my father requests us to get up and do the dance in front of everyone. It was a lot of fun and a great hit at the wedding.
They knew each other very well from high school. Manny was a football player, actor at the school of drama class. They always stayed in touch.
When they went back to the University of Florida after taking some time off, they said, let's get a place together.
Tracy had just moved in that weekend, and I saw on the news the report on the first 2 girls that were murdered. So I called her, and she hadn't heard anything. I just said, "Be safe, I love you." I said, "Have a great first day at school, and call me tomorrow, please." And literally, 2 hours later, she was murdered.
That next morning, Lisa tried to get in touch with Tracy again. And after all day, when she couldn't reach her, she asked a mutual friend if he could stop by and check in.
Tommy said, "Okay, I'll call you from inside the apartment. And I get a call like 5 minutes later, and Tommy's just screaming. And he just said, "It's Tracy, it's Tracy, it's Tracy."
We need CID crime scene and supervisor en route. Also, give me 2 additional units. We're still off that whole complex.
The latest victims were found inside the Gatorwood apartment. The bodies of a young man and a young woman were found at about 8:30 this morning.
Here's what they pieced together happened. The killer goes in there. Manny is asleep. He stabs Manny. That first blow wakes Manny up. Manny, we now know, put up a fight, and a really tough fight. And he lost that fight. He was stabbed to death.
I remember the shock because it had been 3 fairly small brunettes. And now here was this big, strong guy.
Our perpetrator. He was there to rape Tracy and kill Tracy, and Manny got in the way.
Police see the body of Tracy Paulus on the living room floor. There were several similarities now with all 3 crime scenes. One was that the victims were displayed, kind of a taunt to police. Another was that the killer had used duct tape to restrain all the victims. A third was that the killer had used a screwdriver to get into doors in all of the apartments. A fourth one was that they're all near woods, which allowed the killer to get in without being noticed.
My mom says, "Oh, Laurie, you've lost your baby. You've lost your baby." When my mom said that, I just knew. Yeah. We got on the plane to head back to Miami. I was okay if the plane crashed. I was okay.
So now, in the space of 3 days, we have 5 students dead.
And the news media then stormed the town.
Panic and fear throughout the entire community.
If they take another step towards me, I'll shoot them.
Students are talking of returning home.
I'm terrified. I couldn't sleep last night.